Now let's talk about vendor packs. An item cannot be ordered without a vendor pack. It identifies vendor-specific information such as order duns, flow type, cost, vendor stock number, projected first in-store date, and ship points. There are a lot of vendor-relevant fields on the Vendor Packs tab because you do own a lot of the fields that are on this tab. So there's flow type, primary store format or ownership code, shipping package, total eaches per enter, number of enters, cost, vendor stock number, vendor description, vendor applied EAS tag or required indicator, California Prop 65, and ship points. So up at the very top, you will see your flow type. The flow type for this specific item is Distribution Center or DC. Ownership code is below that, and then underneath that you will see your shipping package. So this indicates which UPC this vendor pack is being built for. Further down the page you will see the cost. So this is the cost that you agreed on with the merchant. Below that you'll see the vendor stock number and vendor description. A lot of vendors want to group their items using stock numbers. So these are pieces of information that you will come up with for your items. Further down, you will see the vendor applied EAS tag and required indicator. We did talk about the EAS tag on the item tab because there is a field for it on there as well. So just make sure that these do coordinate across the tabs. Over to the right, you will see California Prop 65 questions. And then finally, down at the bottom of your page, if your item has tier groups, you will see your ship points. So here you can see all of the DC locations that we will be delivering, that your product will be going to. And then over to the right of that, you see ship points. And this is where we are coming to pick up your product. So if you have a warehouse in, let's say, Pennsylvania, you may have that listed for all of these DC locations. So that means we would be coming to your warehouse in Pennsylvania, and then your product would be going out to all of these DC locations here. Now you may have more than one warehouse. You may have a warehouse, let's say, in Pennsylvania, and then one in California. And if your product that you're supplying us is available in both of those warehouses, you might want to set up different ship points for different DC locations. So for example, for this, the California location, you would want us to pick up your product from your California warehouse, and then from these East Coast locations, Pennsylvania, Ohio, and Georgia, you would want us to pick up your product from your Pennsylvania warehouse. So to set up multiple ship points or different ship points for different DC locations, that's actually something you have to do after a product is operational in IMA, and it's something that we're going to be covering in session 4, the maintenance session. Alright, inners and eaches. So what are inners? Inners are internal cartons within a carton. They may be broken down in the DC, and the inners shipped to different stores. So we're going to look at a couple of examples. Let's say we have this carton, and it has 3 inners. Each of those inners have 6 packages of Tylenol PM. So the total eaches per inner, and number of inners fields would be 1863. There's 18 total eaches, or 18 of the Tylenol PMs. There are 6 of the Tylenols going into each inner, and then there are a total of 3 inners. Let's say your product doesn't actually have any inners. In that case, the eaches also count as inners. So the total eaches here would be 18. Eaches per inner is 1 because each of them count as an inner. And the number of inners is 18, so 18, 1, 8. Let's say you have a carton of 6. It would be 6, 1, 6. Or you have a carton of 10, 10, 1, 10. Alright, so my merchant or inventory analyst has requested that I create a new vendor pack for an existing item. Why would I need to create a new vendor pack? Take a moment and think about this. So why would you need to create a new vendor pack for an existing item? There are several reasons why you might need additional vendor packs. It could be that there's a new flow type. If you have been shipping your product DC and now we want to be able to order it DSD, direct to store, that new flow type would need its own vendor pack. Or maybe we've had your product being sold in our Kmart stores and now we want to start selling it in our Sears stores. We would need a new vendor pack for that new Sears format. Or maybe it's a different vendor. So one example of this could be that vendor A has been supplying a product for a while. They're going to discontinue supplying it, and vendor B is going to come in and start supplying that same exact product. So they would need their own vendor pack. Or sometimes there are products where we have to have multiple vendors supply it at the same time, such as the plastic bottles of water that get the throwaway ones, or hopefully you're recycling them. We cannot get supply from a single vendor to meet our demand. So we actually have multiple vendors that supply the bottles of water. Another reason that we might need a new vendor pack from you could be that there's a change in the carton configurations. So maybe we've been ordering your product in a 2442 configuration, and now we actually want to be able to order it in a 2222 configuration. So we would need a new vendor pack for that new carton configuration. Or going along with that sometimes, if there's a new each or member being added to a configuration, we would also need a new vendor pack for that new carton to accommodate that new each. So if you have, let's say sizes small through large, and now we've asked you to add on an extra large, we would need a new carton for that, as well as a new vendor pack. Finally, if there's more than one cost, we would need a new vendor pack. So typically, vendor packs have to be the same cost, but there is an exception to that. So if we've been selling your product in the 48 continental states, and now we want to start selling it in Hawaii, or Alaska, or Puerto Rico, there's going to be a higher cost associated with the product that's going to be sold in those additional locations. So there would need to be a new vendor pack to accommodate that different cost.